Coming up on today's Philadelphia 76ers now, why the Sixers need to go all in at the NBA trade deadline. But first, it is February. Trade deadline coming up later this week. I'm in Las Vegas covering the Super Bowl, so whether it's myself or somebody else, we're going to continue to cover this basketball team. We're putting in the hours right now here in Las Vegas. Appreciate all of you for tuning in, and if you haven't subscribed, do so right now. Whether I'm at the Chat Sports Studios in Vegas covering the Super Bowl, we have you covered with the best Sixers talk right here on YouTube. February subscriber battle between 76ers now and Boston Celtics today. We all hate the Celtics, right? Let's annihilate them. Hit that sub button for more Sixers coverage. And with that, let's start the show. All right, this is 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Trade deadline coming up on Thursday. And the big looming question for Philadelphia, what is Daryl Morey going to do in the aftermath of this Joel Embiid injury, which over the last couple of days, it seemed to have gotten worse and worse and worse as far as the outlook. Adrian Wojnarowski with this, that Joel Embiid, the reigning MVP, will undergo a procedure this week to repair a left meniscus injury, a team official tells ESPN. A recovery timeline is expected after the procedure, but the expectation is that he will miss an extended period of time. And there's this from Run It Back. I'm told that the hope is that Embiid misses 1 to 2 months. If a full repair is needed in surgery, that's going to be significantly longer as far as the time period. That was from Shams Charania on the Run It Back podcast. And everything I've kind of gathered, because Embiid a couple of years ago already got a procedure on that meniscus in the same knee, is that it could very well be a season-ending injury for Embiid. There is potential possibility that he could come back for the playoffs, but given the injury history with Embiid, it's not looking good, which is so unfortunate for him because he was having an MVP caliber season, even better than last year when he won MVP. And then it makes this Sixers outlook going into the playoffs and the stretch run of the regular season somewhat cloudy. More from Woj on the Embiid injury timeline here. It was described to me that the door, is very much open for Embiid to return this year. No point in guessing whether Embiid's recovery time is 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. We don't know. The Sixers don't know at this point. They'll know better once they go in, complete this procedure on Embiid's left knee. And that latter portion is really important to note here, because if Embiid has any chance to play this year, you're going to need to go all in and try to make a run, but you're going to have to decide over the next couple of days whether to go all in or not. And this is one of those matters, tail end of that Woj tweet and that report, where the Sixers are literally going to go in to repair that meniscus. And if it's a full repair, not good. If it's a partial repair, glass half full type of approach, and maybe that changes the Sixers' decisions on what to do at the deadline. We know this year, right? 76ers not good without Embiid. He's been dominant on both ends of the floor. 3-level scorer. He can shake and bake off the dribble. He can knock down the three. Has that physicality to dominate you on the low block. He is such a dominant force offensively and defensively. And when the Sixers are without him, they're 4-10. They've really struggled. And when you look at the Eastern Conference standings, without Embiid over the last few games, and as he's been injured over the last couple of weeks, F the NBA, by the way, for forcing him to play against the Golden State Warriors, which then resulted in this injury, Sixers have started to trickle down the Eastern Conference standings. You have the Celtics, Bucks, Cavs, the surging New York Knicks, all ahead of Philadelphia, and the 76ers right now firmly entrenched for much of the year in that 3 spot, down in that 5 spot. If the season were to end, it would be a first-round series between New York and Philadelphia. So what say you? Let's hear from you down in the comment section here. Should the Sixers go all in at the NBA trade deadline? On the other side, after you type Y for yes or N for no, I'm going to explain why the Sixers should go all in. And coming up, what does all in specifically look like? We'll let you know in just a few moments. But first, let's pay our bills here on 76ers Now. And make sure you get in the game with Prize Picks, the largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America. You can get a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use the code CLNS. What that means is, You put in $100, you get $100 back. The more or less game, you choose more or less on a player's individual stats. And here are my selections for Super Bowl 58. Prize Picks running a special promo all week. It's easy money, right? Patrick Mahomes, more than a half passing yard. I'm pretty sure he's going to have more than that. Isaiah Pacheco against a Niners defense that struggles against the run. I love the more than a half rushing and receiving touchdown combined. And look, I think Brock Purdy's going to prove a lot of people wrong against this vaunted Chiefs defense. I'm smashing the more for 248.5 passing yards. Daily Fantasy Sports made easy. Prize Picks makes it easy for you. $100 deposit match, a no-brainer. Pick 2 or more players. Choose more or less on their projected stat lines. It's Daily Fantasy Sports made easy. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. That link is kicking it down in the comments section as well as in the description of this video. All right, now on the show. How did the Sixers go all in the aftermath of the Joel Embiid injury? Step number 1, I think Philadelphia has to do what it takes to get Alex Caruso. We've talked about him plenty here on the show. He can be that backup ball handler. He can play alongside Tyrese Maxey if Tyrese Maxey wants to dominate the ball. But Alex Caruso is a very good two-way player who moves the needle for me as far as a championship player goes, either as a starter or a rotation piece. He's one of, if not the best defensive guards in the entire NBA. He's having a career best year on the offensive side of the deck. I think that he would be a perfect fit next to Tyrese Maxey as well as Joel Embiid once he comes back. And Caruso is not just a rental piece. I'd like to see him here for the foreseeable future. You take a look at the numbers this year, and with Chicago, he's turning in 26.7 minutes per game. I think with Philadelphia, he can give you 30 minutes a tick per night. 10 points per game, 3.5 rebounds. We talk about that career best season for him. 49% from the field, 41.5% from three-point range. He can hang out in the corner, knock down some trifectas. You want to let him fly from the wing, he can do that. Straightaway triples, he's cash from there. And then also anticipatory skills on the defensive end to play the passing lanes with deflections, which can lead to steals, which can lead to fast break, easy opportunities on the offensive side of the floor. 1.3 steals per game as well. And here's our Alex Caruso trade idea. Let us know what you think about it down in the comment section here. I like it for a couple of reasons. You get Caruso, two-way player, championship level piece, right? But then you're not sure what the timeline is of this Joel Embiid injury. Whether it's long-term or short-term, Andre Drummond helps Philadelphia out right now. One of the best rebounders in the game, if not the best rebounding big in the game. He can block shots, very energetic presence. And again, whether Embiid is back or not, you have trust that Drummond can give you minutes. And then what you're giving away for those two players, I love the asking price there if you can convince the Bulls to make that move. Step number 2, trade for Buddy Hield. Now, Buddy Hield is what you call a chucker, and he's not really going to give you much on the defensive side of the floor because he's never been a talented defensive player or an engaged defensive player. But without Embiid, that's 30 points per game that you're missing every single night. You need to make up for some of that offensive production that you're going to be lacking, and I think that you can do that with Buddy Hield. Now, the numbers are down a little bit with Indiana as far as his points per game output goes. He's down to 12 this year, but the shooting numbers are pretty good. And with some more open looks around the perimeter, playing alongside Tyrese Maxey, who can drive and kick, who can use his distribution skills to get the ball in the hands of Buddy Hield, 44% from the floor is going to play. So too is 38% from downtown. And our Hield trade idea is this. You have to part ways with Marcus Morris, Philadelphia's own, and he's played well for Philadelphia, better than anybody really anticipated after that James Harden trade. But you trade away KJ Martin, who's not even getting run for Philadelphia right now, a young piece on an expiring deal that Indiana might like with a coach like Rick Carlisle, who can certainly coach him up, and then 2 second-round picks. So you're giving away pieces that don't really cost you in the immediacy, but you're getting an impact player back in Buddy Hield. So grade these trades for Philadelphia, A, B, C, D, or F. Let's hear from you down in the comments section. Here on YouTube, you treat the comment section like a sports talk radio call-in line. Step number 3, you sign a player in the buyout market. And as we talked about last week, Philadelphia is going to be positioned pretty well in the buyout market. Players likely to be bought out. Kyle Lowry, after the Terry Rozier trade, he's not even playing for the Charlotte Hornets. He's a prime buyout candidate. Gordon Hayward of Charlotte because of the lofty salary. Alec Burks, Danilo Gallinari, sharpshooter, and then DeLon Wright. Gordon Hayward would obviously come to Philadelphia with skill, aging player who's also suffered from a bunch of injuries in recent memory since signing that massive contract with Boston after a few very successful years with the Utah Jazz. This year, 25 games played, 14.5 points per on that awful team, 4.5 dimes, almost 47% from the floor, and 36% from three-point range. He's played a lot of high-volume minutes in a lot of high-volume types of games. He is a seasoned player and a veteran who you know is not going to shy away from the big stage. So likely buyout candidates right there of note for Philadelphia. Do want to give a shout out to some of our top commenters. We told you last week that if you spam the comment section, we're going to show you some love right here on the docket. Nathan Marshall, 92 Philly Law, DHF, Peter Thurman, always a real one, and then Easy Jace L Nation. I'm on Super Bowl Radio Row. We're in Las Vegas. Not a lot of people are talking hoops like we are, but you know what? When you're a top commenter, when you support the show, real one, roll call. We appreciate you for tuning in and keep it locked here. It's NBA trade deadline week. It's going down, and we got you covered here on 76ers Now.